More than 2,000 years ago, a light came into our world. This light sacrificed itself in love for humanity, and in doing so, many others bore this light. Those who received this light found joy in sharing it, and it soon began to spread around the world. All throughout history, there have been many who have tried to snuff it out. Many bearers of this light faced persecution and painful struggles. Yet the light continues to illuminate. This light traveled to many places, and one fine day found its way to the shores of Singapore. A young missionary, Father Laurent Arbert, reported to his superior Bishop Florence in 1821 that he had encountered a small community of Catholics on the island, 12 or 13 in number, and they seemed to live a wretched life. Father Arbert recommended that a missionary presence be established on the island. He then went on to China and Korea, eventually becoming Korea's bishop.
Just at that time in Korea, there was a severe persecution of Christians. The rulers in Korea made a deal. If the bishop surrendered himself, the Christians would be spared.
He surrendered to the authorities. Then there were two more priests, also living in hiding. Albert wrote to them and said, "You better surrender to the police as well, in order to spare the persecution of our people." He quoted St. John, "The good shepherd gives his life for his sheep." So they also surrendered, and 1 month later, 3 of them were beheaded.
Father Ambert was martyred in 1839. That very same year, a young 26-year-old by the name of Father Jean-Marie Burrell landed on Singapore's shores. He took charge of the Catholic community and obtained a piece of land on Bras Basah Road to build a new church.
When Burrell started building the church, he and Bishop Bouchot chose the name of Good Shepherd in memory of Bishop Ambert.
So the church in Singapore has been connected with someone who gave their life for Christ.
In the early days, this was the first and only church, and it is today the oldest Catholic church in Singapore. What is the meaning of this building? What was it for? First and foremost, to provide for the spiritual needs of the early immigrants that came to live in Singapore.
Wherever there were Catholics, the French MEP fathers would reach out to them. Upon Father Burrell's request, Father Mondui built a chapel in 1846 in the plantations of Kranji.
That area used to be where a large majority of the Chinese coolies and immigrants went to work. And so you come on a boat, as soon as they step off the boat, they are inducted into secret society. But then the missionaries came along. They started preaching about love, about God, about what it means to be part of a family. I think that was a big thing, to be part of a family of God.
Those secret societies were controlling all those people coming from China and also getting money from them. But those who became Christians escaped, from their control.
These good Christians are not smoking opium, they're not gambling. So the Huis waited until the priests were out of town one day, and they attacked. They set fire to the villages, they looted it. Reports say that 500 Christians were killed in the riot.
The newspapers termed it as the anti-Catholic riot. But that didn't deter the Catholic Church from growing. In fact, we grew in bigger numbers.
And so, the church continued its work, despite persecution from the secret societies in 1851. At the other end of the island, the need to bring light to the Ucan farmers led to the building of another chapel in 1852 that was later renamed the Church of the Nativity of the Blessed Virgin Mary. However, with more locals bearing the light, the need to serve the different ethnic groups became more pressing.
Singapore, with its famous multi-ethnic nature. You had to contend with different languages.
As most of the people then could not speak English, the missionaries had to pick up the various languages to serve the various communities here.
If I want to reach out the people of Singapore, I must speak the lingua of Singapore, and I must be part of the life of people in Singapore. Christ remained 30 years as a carpenter and preached 3 years. Why did he waste 30 years as a carpenter? To be rooted in his own Jewish situation. And then he spoke the language of the people.
At that time, there was only one church in town, the Good Shepherd. And all the services were in Latin. But the preaching was done in English or sometimes Portuguese or Malay. But the Chinese, there was nothing for them. And the Indians the same, they didn't speak English.
As soon as they got some money, they built St. Peter and Paul. And so, Malay and English remain in the Good Shepherd. Chinese and Tamil went to St. Peter and Paul.
1888, another piece of land was bought in Ophir Road, and the Church of Our Lady of Lourdes was built to take care of the Tamil-speaking Catholics. Further on, the Church again of the Sacred Heart was built to take care of the dialect-speaking Cantonese group. And then years later, the Church of St. Teresa's was built to take care of the Hokkien and Hakka-speaking people.
In 1932, the Chapel of the Holy Family was set up to cater to the growing Eurasian community in Katong.
So anybody staying somewhere in Katong, if he was Chinese, he was told straight away, you go to Queen of Peace, that's your church.
It's interesting, I suppose, in the sense that they've segregated themselves according to the language and the dialect groups of the day.
But we could not carry on that way, you see. So the bishop decided to remove from linguistic parishes to territorial parishes.
It was Archbishop Olsemendi who set in place the move to territorial parishes.
Bishop Olsemendi became a bishop from a parish priest. He was parish priest of Our Lady of Lourdes. What I heard him say is the parishes must not be too big, because if they are too big, you have no more time for the non-Christian. And that's the reason why he erected 18 parishes. So he started with Our Lady Star of the Sea, then Immaculate Heart of Mary, then Queen of Peace, and then St. Francis Xavier, St. Bernadette, OLPS, St. Ignatius, and all these parishes built one after the other.
More so than the light that led to the building of physical churches was the light that sparked in the hearts of the people. After building the first church, Father Burrell was convinced that the church needed to provide education, especially for the poor.
The missionaries had a great insight. They realized the value of education.
Father Burrell felt that we needed an English mission school because the rest of the Portuguese Catholics were sending their children to Protestant schools.
He tried at all within his means to get the brothers here, and it wasn't easy. He wrote many times to Rome and to the Brother Superior General, and he was not one to sit back and just wait for replies. So that's why he went back again to Europe to make sure that he would travel with the brothers and the sisters and come down to Singapore. 6 brothers and 4 IJ sisters on the ship, the La Julie. 3 months on a ship is not easy. In fact, there was a story of one of the sisters. She died 2 weeks before they reached Singapore.
Very soon after arrival, the first thing they did was to open schools. It wasn't to propagate the faith, but it was to see how they could make society better by providing education.
In the first years, SJI at the Bras Basah. At that time, SJI was known as St. John's Free School because education was to be provided free.
SJI was started in 1852 by the LaSalle brothers. It was situated diagonally opposite the cathedral, where the current Singapore Arts Museum occupies. For the IJ sisters, Father Burrell forked out his own money to pay for a piece of land across the cathedral to build them a convent.
With the second batch, we had Mother MacTeal, and she had the inspiration to start the education for girls. Within 10 days, she started already gathering the poor girls, and the school began. When this place was really dilapidated, they had a house over there, not like that now. There was no door. They had to use an umbrella for privacy, 2 pots, 2 pans, and things like that. Very hard times, but they persevered and went on. That's why it's their courage, daring spirit that touched me.
They managed to get the piece of land that is where the current, what is now known as Chimes. It is from there that the IJ school started out, the very first one in Victoria Street.
When we came here to Singapore, we accepted children of any background. We didn't only bring in Catholics. Children from every background came to the school and we were accepting. Openness to other religions have always been the hallmark of IJ.
So it was from these 2 lights that many more Catholic schools came to be built.